Hello, everyone. Welcome to Helmer's Movie Mania Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Helmer, bringing you more cinema-related content. From top 5 list to classic movie reviews to our fan favorite Cinema Wars episodes, we have all cinema-related content here on Helmer's Movie Mania Podcast. Now, today, I know I'm contradicting myself from my previous statement about 5 seconds ago, but we are doing a segment on, this year's Oscars. We haven't actually had any content on the 2021 Academy Awards or any Oscar ceremony so far on this channel. So I think it's time for us to talk about the grandest celebration in all of the film world. So with me, I didn't come with you empty-handed. Don't worry. I brought you the 2 biggest experts I could find on the industry. First of all, we have, him from our Cinema Wars segments. He is a member of the Iowa Film Critics Association and radio host at Northern Iowa University. It is Hunter Friesen. Hunter, how are you doing today?
Oh, great. Great to be here today talking about the Oscars, the most fun awards race there is.
Awesome. Great to have you as well. And my special guest, he is host of the Max Joseph podcast on YouTube. It is Max Joseph. Max, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I'm very honored to be here, and I'm excited to talk some movie love and Oscar stuff. It's starting to get exciting, right?
Mm-hmm. It is. Right. And would you prefer us to call you Max Joseph or the film person? As I can tell, you kind of have the two labels back and forth that we could.
Oh, you can call. When you can just call me Max. I don't care. Max was a film person.
I don't know. The film person sounds. The film person is pretty.
That's
pretty
just like the channel name. You can call me Jeremy, Jasper, whatever you want, but you can call me Max. But the channel's name is Max was a film person.
All right, so Max or the film person, why don't you kind of tell our viewers kind of what your channel is about and why you kind of got started starting a channel that centralizes on the award season and what kind of interests you about the film award season?
Yeah, so, a lot of people always say like, Max, your channel is like all about the Oscars, and I actually don't think it is. That's just like what a lot of people gravitate towards, but I'm a singer also, so like, in the very near future, I'm having a bunch of like Broadway guests joining me on my channel to like sing some of like the classic and like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I have a Glinda who was on Broadway singing it with me. I'm going to be doing like all these awesome other things. But right now it is like, I'm a film person. I don't just like focus on like one thing. I like to talk about all aspects of film. I did an interview with Raphael Sadiq. I just did an interview with the guy who played Poe in the Star Wars Lego holiday special. I like to just like talk anything film. So although it's not like focused on the Oscars, I do obviously love talking about them.
Yeah, and there are, let's try to address the doubters here. There are a ton of people throw crap at the Oscars, but like you said, that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about the best. Of course, there's no such thing as objectively judging film. What is the best film of the year objectively? But yes, the Oscars, award season, Golden Globes, SAG, Critics' Choice, they're fun. What can I say? I mean, when it comes down to it, award season's fun. I mean, nobody's telling you have to love this movie, but they are fun. Let's get over to the 2021 Oscars, of course, because that's what we're here to talk about. So, which we start with. Let's get over to kind of a question that I really want to talk to you guys about. Obviously addressing the elephant in the room, COVID-19. Hunter, I'll get started with you first. Like previous years, is the Oscars maintaining its importance as the most, credible, if you could call it that, the most credible movie awards show on the planet, really?
I say this year actually especially more than others. Obviously you can talk about is the Oscars credible, and that's a whole other debate, but this year they are the most credible of any years just because of the COVID-19 pandemic. All the big budget Oscar baity movies that have big directors and actors are kind of missing here. Quite a few are missing. So this is the year the Oscars can really elevate a movie that like would normally get lost in the shuffle, and people's never heard of Minari before, but then you see it get a ton of Oscar nominations. It could really boost the credibility and recognition of a movie. So it's quite important.
Whether or not you think it's credible is whether or not you think you agree with the nominations and wins. So I don't know, like the Tonys, there's one person up for an acting for lead actor. So it's like,
really,
it's kind of,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
do you think he has a chance to win it all?
Well, it's funny because he could lose. He could lose if
really?
enough people don't.
I was joking.
Yeah.
How could he lose?
No, I know. That's why it's really interesting.
How could he lose?
So it's because of
a certain threshold.
If enough people just don't vote for him. I believe. I need to do more research on it because I'm obviously more obsessed with the Oscars right now. But I think it's credible if you want it to be. I don't think it's like it's more credible this year than this year. Like I will be very sad if films led by a Black ensemble don't get in for Best Picture, because I would say that most of the best pictures in my book were led by Black ensembles, not because it's tokenism, but because it's true. Most of the best pictures of this season for me were led by Black ensembles, or Minari, where it's not even Black, it's just Asian. And if those aren't recognized, that would be insane to me.
I'm actually going to disagree. I'm actually going to, as someone who loves the Oscars, as someone who does, I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to say this year I actually think that this year for the Oscars matters less than any other year really that I've been following the ceremony, especially compared to last year and the year before, where I really got into it and really started watching as many films as I could, as I kind of gravitated towards film as I gravitated towards film more and knew that was something I kind of wanted to do with my future. But this year, I'm actually going to go the opposite direction. This year, for me at least, I gotta say, I just haven't loved that many films that have just come out this year. And in regards to the question, I think that the number of films that have gotten moved to 2021 or 2022 has really negatively impacted the competition of this year's Oscars and how intensely I'm going to look at it. The way I'm looking at it right now is like if they had the Super Bowl and the entire AFC was just taken out of the equation. That's how I'm looking at it. Because the reality of the situation is we have a ceremony that's supposed to award the best of the best, when really a lot of the films that would be considered the best really have been moved to a different year and they're not eligible. And so for me, at least, I can read off my list right now, but I made a list of the films, at least that would be in contention for a number of Oscars that have been moved and that have kind of drastically impacted this year's ceremony. No Time to Die, obviously technical categories and some, effects stuff. A Quiet Place 2, sound. In the Heights. Dune, of course, which would have been a big awards contender. Nightmare Alley. Last Night in Soho. West Side Story. The Green Knight. The Last Duel. Next Goal Wins. The French Dispatch. Red, White, and Water. Blonde. Annette. The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Stillwater. The Woman in the Window. Come On, Come On, and King Richard. And again, those are just the ones that I was able to find on my own due to research. But again, when you have this many films that are gone from the ceremony, I'm looking at the films that are up for contention this year, and I think, how would have Dune impacted the ceremony this year? How would have the French Dispatch? How would have that impacted it? And so, really, like I said, if the Super Bowl, if the NFL season happened and the AFC was taken out of the equation, would I have celebrated the NFC team and as much as I had celebrated, I don't know, the Patriots in whatever year they won it? No, because again, I value competition more than anything else. If you haven't been able to tell by my argument, I'm a very competitive person by nature. And so that's my argument against why this year, although important, I don't think it's as important due to the lack of competition. There are a number of good films this year, and we'll kind of get to that in specifics. But what do you guys think?
Well, going off that, I would say you are right. There's less competition quantity-wise, obviously, but those films you all mentioned that won't come out this year will come out. Well, this year, 2021, compete for the 2022 Oscars.
That's why the 2022 Oscars, those will be something else, man. I'm telling you, those are the Oscars. Those are going to be the Oscars of the generation. I don't know.
If you want to talk about quantity of films competing, the 2022 Oscars will be the one for that. But there is the same number of viable candidates for the year's best. Like usually every year, sure, we can have 100 movies that come out, but there's usually the 6 or 7, 8, 9 that compete for Best Picture, and we still have that same number this year, and they would all compete the same as every other year. So even though the quantity is down, I think the importance is still there, and the same high quality movies is still out there for people to see.
I agree.
Yeah,
Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of huge movies were pushed to next year, but I think the big Best Picture ones are still here, and it also gives an opportunity for movies like Never Rarely Sometimes Always, Promising Young Woman, Judas and the Black Messiah, One Night in Miami, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. All of those might not have had a chance if those other movies that you mentioned were in. So I think that it is really, really, really important this year, actually, to look at what gets nominated. Last year was different. I think last year was one of the best years for cinema ever. But I do think this year is like the status quo. This isn't a less year. It's the status quo. Like we have our pictures. I don't think that it is less than anything, though.
But hypothetically, if there was no pandemic and we saw like the films I listed, you really think that wouldn't have a huge impact on the ceremony and, you know, the winner, the nominations?
No. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it wouldn't have an impact. I am just saying we still have the bunch. We would have different bunches. Like I would probably have Dune walking away with 6 Oscars if it was nominated.
We had a bit of a technical difficulty there.
Okay,
I think we're good right now, but okay. Sorry, could you say that again real quick? Sorry, I think you were lagging out for a bit.
It's very possible. Like I would still have Dune walking away with 6 Oscars if it was nominated, and French Dispatch would probably be way more in contention. But we still have movies that should be competing with the ones next year. Like this year to me is going to be as equal as any other year, except for those rare occasions like last year when we have like, you know, Parasite, which in my mind is literally one of the greatest films ever created. So to me, it's like, I don't know, it is still a very important ceremony, especially just to see what will get nominated. It's going to be really important, I think. But I hear your argument.
Yeah. This is the year of the independent film / for lack of a better term, the little guy. Like Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, no matter what year that comes out, that's competing for Oscars. But like this year, Mank, you know, competes for Oscars every year. But like Promising Young Woman, Nomadland,
exactly.
We said Minari.
I'm a bit more heartless when it comes to this little guy theory. In my book, if the little guy wouldn't be able to compete with the big guy, then I'm not gonna.
But the difference is that they should. The difference is that they should. Nomadland should be up against movies like French Dispatch.
But then again, I would argue that the little guy still isn't. You have movies like First Cow that aren't necessarily going to get the recognition that you're saying that they're going to receive, despite being the little guy. So there are these little films.
Because not enough people see them. Not enough people see them. So then now that there's not as many movies coming out, all of the little guys that should be considered big guys because they are probably better than most of these big budget films are finally being recognized. And so hopefully people will take the independent films, the low budget films way more seriously. And like Bong Joon-ho said last year, like if you take your eyes 5 inches below and read the captions, you're going to be introduced to a whole new world. It's the same exact, I didn't quote him exactly, but you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with independent films. You're going to be introduced to like this brand new world of films you've never seen that are probably better than the big budget or up there at least.
May I ask, which films are you referring to as the independent films that are going to be up for, you know, that awards this year?
I mean, the best example is Nomadland. Like,
but I feel like it still would have been in contention it still would have been in a similar placement if you had a normal year. Nomadland has a 4.2 on Letterboxd. It has correct me if I'm wrong, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, or if not, high 90s. So Frances McDormand is getting a lot of buzz. The screenplay is getting a lot of buzz.
Minari, Never Rarely Sometimes Always. First Cow. Let's see. I Carry You With Me, the 40-year-old version. Miss Juneteenth. I mean,
for
Promising
Best Picture,
Young Woman.
There's so many. We can head in because this question kind of collides with our next topic, the competition for this year. Let me just, at least from what I'm saying, we have. I mean, these aren't huge, big budget movies like Dune, but Dune is a once in a lifetime movie that is able to be a big budget blockbuster and an Oscars contender. So I'm just going to leave that out of the conversation. But you have movies like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which would usually contend for Oscars anyways. Mank, which is Oscar bait all the way. I haven't seen The Father yet. I can't wait to see that. But I'm going to leave that out of the equation right now. Charlie Chicago 7, another Oscar bait film that I don't necessarily think is Aaron Sorkin's best. and I don't think should be competing at the front of the line in terms of Best Picture. Just in my book, really. I definitely think that Aaron Sorkin, like you mentioned, Social Network, but again, we've recognized that it was snubbed for Best Picture. And then Aaron Sorkin's also written. I actually thought that Molly's Game I thought was better than Trial of the Chicago 7. And then One Night in Miami I thought was good. Didn't love the screenplay. Didn't love the direction.
Haven't seen clear, that would not be contending. That would not be contending if it was a normal year. Just want to be clear about that.
It would be
for Best
Picture
as well. Not for Best Picture. Not for Best Picture, it wouldn't contend. For actor, it would. Picture, it would not.
For Kingsley Adir?
Or for Leslie Kingsley.
Leslie Odom Jr.? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Five Bloods I thought was great. That's probably my favorite film out of the award season so far. But at the same time, it wouldn't be nominated if we had a normal year. But I think the film has some problems, but I did think it was great. I'm seeing Judas and the Black Messiah this week, so I can't wait to see that. And the News of the World, I have not seen yet, but from what I've heard, it's quite a bore. And I'm actually kind of pissed off that it's in contention, because we got Sound of Metal, which probably won't get nominated for Best Picture. And I thought Sound of Metal was tremendous, and it deals with subject matter that you don't get to see a lot. And it's dealing with a community that's been kind of shunned, not shunned really, but the light hasn't been shed on them in the film landscape.
It's kind of with every year at the Oscars, but like this is the year that Sound of Metal in a regular year would nowhere come close to Best Picture. It would be maybe Riz Ahmed, and that's it. Yeah. And this year it's competing. It's I would say it's on the outside looking in, but it's up there. Normally this would be number 30 in the list.
It's in that top 12, 13.
2020 Oscars, the year of 2019, was one of the best years in all of cinema. I thought I had a really great, but just looking at the Best Picture contenders that year, I mean, when I think back on it, most of these films got a lot of buzz, regardless of whether they came out in the cinema or not. The Irishman got buzz like months before and after it came out, mostly due to the runtime. Parasite, of course, still gets buzz. Jojo Rabbit, Joker, I mean, we all know the buzz behind. Little Women in Marriage Story kind of left out of there in terms of buzz, really. 1917, because of the unique one-shot style. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because, of course, it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. So I do think, in my opinion, I'm not really talking about the big guy, small guy thing anymore, but in regards to the quality of the films, I will say that 2019, and even if we go back to 2018, really, which I thought was another tremendous year in film. You got Green Book. I didn't love Roma, but that was in contention. What am I forgetting here? Star is Born. But
BlacKkKlansman.
BlacKkKlansman. I love BlacKkKlansman. Yeah. So I would, and then if you go to performances, lead actor, for example, I think the lead actor race this year is tremendous. I think it's
the acting categories this year are amazing.
Best actress also really good as well. But I think Viola Davis should take it home, honestly. I thought she was tremendous. But Best Actor, really, it is really good. But when you look at the competition, specifically of 2019, you got guys like Adam Sandler wasn't nominated. I think he'd get nominated this year. Taron Egerton wasn't nominated. He would have gotten nominated this year. Robert De Niro wasn't nominated. Christian Bale wasn't nominated. Eddie Murphy wasn't nominated. So it's just, in my opinion at least, regardless of little guy, big guy, there's gotta be this threshold in terms of competitions, or in terms of competition that a ceremony like the Oscars has to pass. And in my opinion, it just hasn't passed that in terms of quality.
Well, if you're talking about it's kind of a game of what if at that point. What if this movie came out then, or what if that?
Yeah.
But at this point, there is competition this year. It's just not the usual crowd we would see. And same with general moviegoers. I mean, half of the general people will have never heard of any of these movies for the Oscars. Half the movies, but that's the good thing. They will I don't know what The Sound of Metal is, but it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor.
Ding, ding, ding.
I wonder what this is.
That's to me, this is just as comparable to 2019 when Green Book won. It's the exact same power. This one isn't any less. In fact, I would say that probably if we have, let's say, 2019 had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nominees for Best Picture. There are definitely 8 films that are better than 80% of the ones nominated on this list for me. That's not to say diminished to the other ones. Point being, the stuff that we are seeing today is just as good as any other year for me.
I saw 2 films yesterday just to get prepared for this video. I saw Promising Young Woman, which I didn't love the film. I think I have the same opinion that Hunter. I read your review for it. I think I had the same opinion that you had for it. I didn't love the film. I didn't love the screenplay. I thought there were a lot of narrative issues in terms of them trying to go for a narrative type story, but it really felt kind of like a collection of scenes, really. Regardless of that, I love Carey Mulligan. What I really wanted to get to was I also saw Hillbilly Elegy. Now, Hillbilly Elegy, the fact that it's even in the top 15 on Gold Derby, at least, potential Best Picture nominees. What the hell, man? Now, I didn't think that movie was garbage, but it has Oscar bait written all over it. After I saw it, I'm like, wow, I think I've seen like 10 movies like this before in my life. I mean, does someone else want to kind of take this off my hands? Because I am kind of at a loss with Hillbilly Elegy. Well, and going close finally with her Oscar for this role, even though like she was a tremendous in The Wife, but she wins it for Hillbilly Elegy. Come on, man.
I mean, she's close. She's been nominated everywhere, and it's supporting actress is kind of a. It's a crapshoot right now, but Hillbilly Elegy is Max's point he made. Oscars are opinion based, and the opinions of the Academy, they love this type of movie.
I have no qualms with the movie. I definitely don't think it's the greatest movie ever created. I by no means think it's even close to bad. I think it's a perfectly fine movie, and I will stand by it. I think Glenn Close and Amy Adams are freaking fantastic.
I actually have Ellen Burstyn winning, and Ellen Burstyn's another actress like Marie who might miss out this year. I actually really liked Pieces of Woman, but
definitely.
Okay, that's fine. Let's get to another movie. Mank. I really liked Mank. I didn't actually love Amanda Seyfried's performance. I didn't think it was that good, but at the same time, I thought the film. A lot of the films this year I was just really disappointed by. Mank was one of them, just because it wasn't peak David Fincher in my opinion, but I still thought it was really good. I thought Defy Bloods was great. I thought Sound of Metal was great. I thought Soul was really good. I loved Another Round. I loved it. It will not get any love for picture. No. It's leading in best foreign film at the moment, best international film at the moment. I loved it. It's not the type of film that the Oscars usually go, kind of like The Hunt didn't get nominated for best picture as well. But I thought it was great, and I'm happy that it at least has a good chance to win best foreign film. Malcolm and Marie I didn't love, specifically because of Sam Levinson. On the Rocks I thought was good. Bill Murray was good in it. I'd be fine if he gets nominated, honestly. One last question. Now, at the beginning of the year, are there any surprises in terms of films that kind of dropped out of the race that you thought would be big contenders for this year at the Oscars, specifically to Max? Kind of at the start of the year, what do you think?
Gotta go through my.
I know it's a big question.
I guess Ammonite. I was really hoping, and by the way, I still think it's a fantastic film. And I still think Saoirse Ronan and Kate Winslet should be in the conversation, but they're not, and that is fine. So Ammonite is one of them. I had Five Bloods winning after a couple weeks after Parasite in my very first predictions, I think. And I still think it would deserve to be nominated. I don't necessarily think it should win right now. I would love for that to happen. That'd be awesome. But I would say Ammonite is the big one that I was really hoping would do well, and it just seems to have fallen.
Yeah. Maybe the only disappointment I would say, and it sounds weird, is Mank. Even though it's probably gonna get double-digit nominations, but this movie was going for the win. Like Fincher was gonna win, and the picture was gonna win.
It still has a shot, by the way.
It does have a shot. But it's one of those things that this movie was supposed to get 5 Oscar wins, and Fincher's gonna win it. But maybe it only gets production design. That's it. But it's also is that a real loss?
Maybe not even cinematography, which is shocking.
Yeah,
it shouldn't. It shouldn't, because Nomadlands is better.
Yeah,
I'm kind of biased because I'm a guy. I prefer black and white cinematography to color cinematography, so I'm kind of biased. But that's just me.
It's gorgeous. Both would be deserving. I just prefer Nomadlands.
That's gonna do it for our first Oscars broadcast. Hunter, where can everyone find you?
Well, you can find me at northerniowan.com. I just had a review for Judas and the Black Messiah out. I got to see it early at Sundance. Great movie. I mean, competing for the Oscars this year, but the best movie of 2021 this year, the calendar year, and then on the radio, 94.5 FM, talking exactly the Oscars and all the stuff going on.
Is it me?
And sorry, where can everyone find you, Max? Sorry, I just totally blanked out there.
I'm on youtube.com/MaxJosephFilmPerson, and then I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd @mjoseph492.
All right, great having you as well. Can't wait to see what you have in store for the rest of awards season. The most intense, 2 months that we have in store. And I know I saw your reaction. I saw your reaction video yesterday, but that's just the short list. Everyone get ready for Max's reaction video for the nominations.
I'm ready for that.
I'm gonna pee my pants. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Everyone who hasn't, please like the video, subscribe, hit that bell icon, get notified on all our latest cinema-related content. We have a lot of content coming your way, a lot of Oscars content coming your way specifically. Thank you for watching. Ciao.